This is Johnny Pace coming to you from Pace Studios here in New York City with the one and only Molly Seidel. Molly, welcome to New York. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so you got in yesterday, is that right?
Yeah, I got in yesterday. Long flight from Flagstaff, but it's always fun coming back to New York City.
Yeah, so a lot of good memories here, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Slightly different vibe than Flagstaff, no doubt.
You know what? It's a little bit quieter than Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Flagstaff's a big
You need more of that
town.
hustle and bustle.
Yeah, I wish it was quicker.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, what have you been up to? Like, your first day back?
First day back, it's I'm here with KT Tape. We did a nice shakeout run this morning from Fleet Feet, and then kind of just hanging around, went for a little run, saw my sister in town, and then here with you.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it, and appreciate KT Tape for setting it up. I kind of want to start. The last time I saw you, it was you, me, and Kira D'Amato going through security at the Olympic trials in Eugene. I feel like that's been several months now. A lot of stuff has happened. So tell me everything. What you been up to since then?
Man, what have I been up to? I went and spent about a month out in Paris. I went out to do some stuff out there and then just hung around with friends and was really looking forward to trying to get some races in this fall, and then had to get my appendix taken out. Yeah, it's been honestly kind of a roller coaster of a year. Definitely not the year I thought 2024 was going to be, but that's kind of just what the sport is. You deal with the ups and downs, and feel like it's been a lot of character building this year.
Sure. I don't think KT Tape makes like appendix tape yet.
Actually, that is really funny because I did use some KT tape to like hold down the bandages after I got back. Yeah.
Well, it's
multi-purpose.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so appendix removed. Tell me, let's back up. Like, what were you up to in Paris? Like, what was that whole experience like? Oh
my gosh, it was super fun. So I was out there doing some stuff for Morton originally, and honestly, I was a little bit nervous going out because knowing how bittersweet of an experience it would be of like obviously really wanting to, having dreamed of being in that race and trying to defend my medal there. And it was a really cool perspective shift of getting to be there and seeing the Olympic spirit outside of competing in it, just because Tokyo, we had so much of that spirit kind of stripped away because of the pandemic. It was a great experience to get to be in the stadium, seeing the races, seeing the competition, and really reminding myself of like, oh yeah, this is what the Olympics means. Yeah,
well, so that's really interesting to hear you say that. Like you got to see both, and for me, this was my first Olympic experience, and I was blown away. I mean, it felt like the very best of humanity and best of like sport, and I think they did such a nice job. I'm glad to hear you felt the same way.
No, and I think just the energy of the French fans, seeing that of like what that means to have like the Olympics in your home country, getting to cheer for your athletes there. I think it really hit home for me of like, oh yeah, that's what LA is going to be like. Get excited to train for the next 4 years because like this is what it means to get to like be in the Olympics in your country.
I mean, that was another thing that stood out was like the fans were electric to me. Okay, I've been to hundreds of meets. I've never seen literally every seat filled. And not only that, but it was filled morning and night for like 10 days straight.
It was that energy in that stadium. Like I thought that our Olympic trials in Eugene was going to be the craziest track meet I'd ever been to. And somehow being in that Stade de France, like somehow topped it. It was so nuts. And just seeing the French fans, anytime a French athlete does anything, like gets 10th in the steeplechase, they're like storming the field. It was one of the craziest things I've seen.
Yeah, and you mentioned trials. As I recall, I think that was your first time at Hayward Field as well, right?
So that was my first time in the new Hayward Field. My last time had been there in the one NCAA championships I was healthy for in college was the last time I had been in there. So it was cool getting to see the new Hayward, just like what the new stadium feels like, and like, I don't know, it was really fun just getting to experience all of that.
I mean, as bittersweet, right, as it is to not be competing like you're meant to be doing, kind of interesting. You've had a great year of experiences from our side of things, like getting to experience that without all the pressure.
And I think for me especially, like running and competing can be so myopic. You are just so in your own little world when you're doing it that it is nice to really zoom out a little bit. And like honestly, I feel like I've gotten a lot of inspiration from this year to be like, okay, like what athlete do I want to be going forward? Like what do I want out of this sport? How do I want to compete? And I think being able to get outside your bubble and see a little bit more of the sport is really, really good for that.
100%, and it's so fun, right? Like the
Oh my
experience
God.
for the fans, just it's so awesome. It's great to compete, but it's also fun to follow.
Yeah, I am at my core a huge running nerd, and so it's like it is really just, it's fun to get to go to these things, and I think just growing the sport and showing people like, yeah, these are really exciting things to get to watch.
Right, and I feel like it's getting better every year. There's just more and more. The bar keeps raising somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's that we see that not only with marathoning, how much marathoning has grown within, even just within the US, but all of the track leagues, the new Grand Slam track, like just, I think the public awareness for what running at a high level has grown so much, and I think that's really exciting.
Totally. Well, so you mentioned marathoning. Obviously, we are in New York for the marathon. This is the Super Bowl for the New York running world.
I would say that the Super Bowl is the New York City Marathon of football.
Yes, fair enough. Agreed. I mean, it's always my favorite weekend in the city.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear kind of about some of your prior experiences here racing.
Yeah, so I got to race the New York City Marathon in 2021 coming off of the Olympics, and for me it was such a fun, almost like victory lap, because I had trained for a year and a half through the pandemic, and I feel like getting to the Olympics, having like I had dealt with injury in the build-up, and it was really a grind. And obviously there was a lot of pressure around that, and then after winning the medal and then getting to do New York a few weeks later, it was a quick turnaround, but I got to treat it as like, hey, you've worked so hard, you've built all this fitness, put no expectations on this race, just go out and have fun. And I didn't put any time goals on it. I just went into it being like, hey, I just want to get myself in it, go out, race hard, and being able to go in there and come away with the American course record on it, I was kind of blown away of just like, I feel like I race my best when I'm not thinking about time, when I'm just in it, and that's what that race was for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think this race deserves to be experienced. Like, it is so much, every mile of it. Last year was my first marathon ever. It was the New York Marathon.
Yeah. That is quite a race to do as your first marathon.
Just ease into it, right?
Oh my God.
This is a nice slow start, but just having now done the 3 American majors, and they're all amazing in their own ways.
Yeah.
But there's something about New York that I just hope people get to. Everybody should experience this.
I feel like New York is such a different race. Like, and having done a couple of the other majors myself, it's like the energy that this race brings. I think the history of it as well. It really does set it apart. And I think then the difficulty as well, like just completing the New York course is like no shame to Chicago, but like it's a hard race.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, my hair is like a life of its own in this wind right now.
You're doing great. We're up here at altitude.
Up high in the building.
Up in the clouds. But let me see. So, talk me through kind of this year, like injury, the comeback from that. I'd love to hear. I mean, I remember back in college, my sports PT was like a wizard with the KT tape and would like do these intricate patterns, like
diagrams,
six pronged, diagrams going up and down. I haven't kept up with it. I mean, I'd love to hear about your involvement with it, how it's helped you.
Yeah, so I really started using KT tape heavily during my Olympic build. I had been dealing with just some knee soreness going into the Olympic marathon, and one of our physios there showed me a knee taping pattern that got me through the entire race without any pain. And so from there, I kind of started using it as like my good luck charm. But I had been using it back in high school as well, actually, so I've been using it for a long time. And I've just noticed that the ability for it to be able to kind of like lift the skin and like remove some of those adhesions, I feel like really helps me when in marathon training, you're always sore, something is always hurting. And I feel like just giving myself that little bit of extra mobility, little bit extra blood flow is like absolutely vital.
Can you explain how it works? Because like somebody's seeing this, it's like it kind of just looks like tape.
I know, it does look like just fancy designs. But no, how it works, it sticks on your skin, and then like it basically gently raises up that top level of skin. And you probably have heard all over the TikToks, fascia is what runs underneath. It connects your entire body as well as your muscles. And so being able to lift the skin off of that and allow the fascia and the muscles to move freely can relieve a lot of pain and increase blood flow.
Well, yeah, it's to me when they would do their diagrams, and then I'd have this like terrible injury and then it's like no pain.
Yeah.
It's like this seems kind of like witchcraft. But
yeah, well, and I've found personally, especially when I'm taping my knee, a lot of my problems come from like tracking of my kneecap.
Yeah.
And so being able to help kind of like keep the kneecap in place where I will wrap the knee around during a marathon once my my body starts getting really tired and my knees are collapsing in.
Yeah.
Being able to track that patella well helps resolve some of that knee pain for me.
That's fantastic. Now my question for you is like, have you become expert in self-administering?
Yeah, so I feel like my method that I'll do on my knee, I'm pretty like well versed in it now. I've learned like a couple tips and tricks. I'll sometimes get like, like the physical trainer like sticky spray, especially in a marathon, just when it's like really hot out, or like in Tokyo when it was 90 degrees and it's sweaty, being able to make sure that it's staying on the whole marathon.
Right. Yeah, so you're doing the spray as well.
Yeah, I'll do the spray if it's like, just because the tape is already very sticky. When I'm putting down the spray, that is like welding it to my skin. And so like I save that for special occasions, because then it's like, it's not coming off.
It's not coming off.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, so you've tell me, like, where are you at now? Like from a.
So right now, this year has been difficult because it has been so many false starts. I had broken my kneecap right before the trials, took a lot of time off after that to let it heal, and then when I started coming back off of it, I think it was this realization of like, hey, I have sped my way through a lot of injuries over the last few years in an effort to just race as much as possible. Right. Like I was injured going into the Olympics. I had been injured going into the year I dropped out of Boston. And being able to take the time to be like, hey, like things don't feel right. I really want to take the time now to fix a lot of these things, because my entire goal is focusing on what I need to do 4 years from now. Yeah. And I don't want to keep stealing opportunities for myself in the future because I get really greedy about racing now. Like I had originally really wanted to do New York this year, and right around July, my coach and I had a conversation that with how my body was feeling, I could have run this race, but I very likely would have put myself in the exact same kind of like repeating cycle of injuries that I have been in for the last few years. Like I have been super chronically injured. And I really wanted to be very intentional about getting healthy and being able to train in a sustainable manner going into the LA Olympics. So we decided to put a hold on all racing the rest of this year to make sure that we really like got back to fundamentals. Yep. And I'm hoping that sets me up for a much better year of building next year in 2025.
I'm sure it will. I think it's interesting to hear you somebody who's competed at the highest level. I think that's something I see a lot with all sorts of runners, is that what do you do like when injury strikes? It's inevitable, like it happens sooner or later.
That's the thing, it's like there's no way around it. It will happen. And so it's like, how do you respond when it does happen?
Well, I think that long-term perspective is obviously a good one to have, right?
Oh, trust me, I'm being way more measured about it now. I was a basket case back in July, and I'm like, I can't run New York because that's all I wanted to do. But I think it's that it's just like you have to have a little bit of patience with it, and luckily they run this race every year.
Yes, they do. I'd love to hear like let's go to the race. I have two questions. Like first of all, I'd love to hear about you, like as you've been watching marathoning this year, like what's your thoughts on the state of marathoning?
Big picture, the state of marathoning.
There's just so much happening.
Okay, that's the thing. I feel like I am, as a running nerd, very, very excited to see how this race goes down, because the matchup between Helen Obiri and Sharon is going to be absolutely nuts. Like, like the two of them having gone third and fourth at the Olympics, they were teammates on the Kenyan team. Both of them are like Kenyans that train in the U.S. mainly. Like, I feel like this is such an exciting moment because it's like they have both traded off New York City Marathon titles. That is going to be an absolute balls out bonkers race. I definitely think that we could see a course record broken tomorrow.
It's on the table.
Yeah, and then I don't know. On the American side, I'm very excited for my Puma teammate, Dakota Lundworm. Or she just got married. New name. Wait, what's
4
her?
days ago, right?
Well, I actually, is that bad? I don't know what her new last name is. Dakota, my girl. So I'm very excited to see Dakota. I feel like she has been training so well all this year. She's obviously coming off 12th at the Olympics, so she's super strong. Yeah. I saw her a couple weeks out in Boulder, and I think she did like a 28-mile run the day that I saw her. Girl is nutso fit right now. Yeah. And then Jess McLean, obviously, like she, like my fellow Arizonan, like she is someone who she worked so hard. She got 4th at both Olympic trials this year. She was out there in Paris as the alternate, and I feel like she's such a good person who is always there, always putting in the work, hasn't necessarily gotten her moment to really shine yet, and I think this could be the one.
Agreed. I mean, that's what I was thinking. She's ready to show everybody what she's got. Like she's.
And I think that's it. It's like she is such a talented athlete, and I think she hasn't necessarily gotten the opportunity to show her full fitness yet in the marathon, and this course really suits the kind of athlete that she is.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out on Sunday.
Ooh, baby.
What's your plan? Where are you going to be watching?
This is gonna sound so bad. I'm actually leaving tomorrow.
No,
I'm gonna be here for the race.
You're watching?
I know.
Oh man, so you're gonna have to watch the stream.
I know. Isn't that terrible? So maybe I can convince KT Tape to let me stay.
One more night. One more night.
I feel like as bad as this sounds, it sometimes is better to watch on the phone because you get to see the lead pack the entire time.
You get like what 2+ hours.
Exactly.
Full view versus 10 seconds
versus 10
30
seconds, and then you jump on the subway and you try and make it across town.
Yeah,
and do the other
as
like,
everybody else is as well. Like,
yeah, though I don't know. When I am watching, I usually like to go to Greenpoint. My cousin lives over in that part of the city, and I feel like that's a great area because it's like right about halfway. Yeah. People are starting to get tired, but it's still open enough that you don't have to deal with like the mega crowds.
Right. No, Greenpoint's a great area.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well. Anything else? Did we touch on anything there? I think we covered a lot.
Hopefully I didn't mess anything up too badly.
Let me think.
Come on, this is your opportunity. You can ask me anything. Shock the world. Molly, why does your voice sound like that? Have you been smoking?
And the answer is?
Absolutely no. I'm coming off of a bad cold and decided to hike the Grand Canyon while having a bad cold.
That makes sense.
So I'm just telling people that the Grand Canyon stole my voice.
It's stolen many great voices, but we'll be rooting for a fast recovery. Nice. And a fast recovery, sounds like things are trucking along. And
thanks. Yeah, no, I'm definitely hoping that it's an upward trend and looking forward to just trying to be positive, hoping to get some good racing in 2025. And until then, just close out this year strong and hopefully no more appendix removals.
Well, I know the people love you. The people, myself included, are excited for whenever that next race is going to be. And
thanks.
We really appreciate you coming out and sitting down.
No, this was just fun getting to come into the Pace Studios.
Yeah, first guest ever actually. So
wait, what?
This is history right now.
Oh my God, I popped the Pace Studio cherry. This is so fun.
But Molly, so good talking with you, and enjoy the rest of your time here.
Thanks, Tommy.
We'll see you soon.